Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today's episode, we're discussing getting your PhD and working in academia. So, Nevena, before we went to the commercial break, we were talking about, the PhDs. Post PhD, what did you find the job market to be like? It seems that if publishing and research determines your competitiveness as a candidate, but you still have lingering chauvinism in this field where there are particular challenges despite your merits.
Yeah, for me, the situation was a little bit luckier because I spent 17 years in academia beforehand. So I had a beefed up CV compared to somebody else I was competing with. Having said that, the reality is that if you don't have publications, if you don't have some type of credential that beefs up your CV, it's going to be very difficult for you to find a position. As you know, same thing in Canada as in the United States. That rare, animal that shows up that's a tenure track position, which eventually should offer security. Thousands of people sometimes apply for one single position. So you can imagine what that competition looks like. And if we already have an underrepresentation in the journals, and that then dictates how competitive you are, it can be extremely difficult. So it's a catch-22 for women. Also, there's a conditioning of women with regard to self-doubt and insecurities. Now, granted, in Canada, it's a little bit different because the Canadian universities, whether it's private or public, there's a little bit more equality between the rigor and the education. And in Canada, frankly, you have unions at the universities. Where here, particularly in Florida, where I'm at, that's kind of a no subject, and the stability of tenure here doesn't exist. Whereas in Canada, it's a much more secure profession.
Okay, so you just mentioned tenure. Once you land that elusive to most job as a tenure track professor, is the gender disparity any different, or have you noticed that some gender roles assigned by society transfer and persist when it comes to tasks, assignments, and pay?
Well, it is, again, once you're in the job, you do see disparities. There was a great Canadian study a couple of years ago from the Higher Education Quality Council of Ontario that does show that some odd phenomena do happen on campuses, particularly one called cultural taxation, where women are asked to do more service work than men. Now, this may sound wonderful because service is a part of our evaluation for tenure and promotion. But then the reality becomes is that if women are disproportionately being asked to do service work, that leaves men with more time to do research. And again, promotion is all based on publications and research. So this is still another translation, we can say, of these stereotypes and gender roles as we even move into academia after it's already been difficult to get a job in academia.
Now, you mentioned politics earlier. Many academics transfer to or also work in politics. As a woman, what are the challenges you see here for females who want to work in consulting?
Yeah, this is a really interesting area as well. I do consulting, and I've done consulting in Michigan and some here in Florida since I've gotten here. And it is changing, but it is still quite male dominated. And amongst women, there are many anecdotes and stories and articles written about that disparity as well. The Wire, 2021 article in The Wire said it was difficult to break the camaraderie between the men in these circles. And in consulting, it's all about, who networking, dropping names and things of that nature. And word of mouth matters. Also, if a woman does excel, statistics have shown in these studies that there's always these rumors of how a woman succeeds in political consulting, right? From impropriety in relationships to the basis of her looks and attractiveness. And so there's this assumption that if a woman excels, it's due to anything but a hardcore approach to her political knowledge. Politico a few years ago also said that, women rarely run campaigns, particularly here in the United States. And for women, this means that they're losing out on money. Right? So if they're not attractive or if they're not, playing this rumor game, then the question is, how can a woman be successful and take a primary role in consulting without then having to succumb to her reputation? So in the end, you also have a lot of mansplaining, right? And men basically telling women either what their gender prefers politically, demographically, and statistically, but then also, telling a woman that her opinion, not directly, of course, but her opinion is less valued because that camaraderie, that circle of networks is so difficult to get through.
Okay, so we're going to discuss more of this when we come back. So please don't go away.